All right, so all week we're going over side control, but we're really kind of focusing on judo side control, which, again, there's some really basic principles of control that we really want to focus on this. So when we sit out, there's two different versions, and again, simplifying for judo side control, where I either have, a hook around the head and I'm controlling the arm, and I can go to different arm locks and I can go to different chokes from here, or I also have some variation of an arm lock with a far underhook as well, okay? No matter what, let's just focus on the kind of basics right now. If I want to have really good control of John in this position, if you look right now, my right leg is kind of far away from his near shoulder. In this side control position, the main emphasis for me, no matter what, in my need, want, nice to have, is I need to control this near shoulder at all costs. So how do I do that? I can either pull up on the sleeve, I can pull up by the arm, but I literally want to get my leg, more so my hip in between my knee, underneath his shoulder. 1. 2, because if I need to, I can cup around my leg to be able to really secure this off the ground, or in transition, if we're going to end up having to move around or move to back to side control or step over, I can control off this arm and be able to pull this. Okay? I can't, and just to be clear again, I can't squeeze my leg and pull this arm at the same time, because if you notice right now, if I squeeze like this, John can really move this shoulder, and he can even start to move his feet and wiggle away. Okay? Right? So if I'm pulling on this arm, I'm just kind of cupping around, because that way if John goes to move, I'll tell you, it's a little bit more glued in, or I have this really, really tight underneath, and this is kind of going for the ride, so that way if he tries to move again, he'll have a little bit more wiggle room at the arm, but then again, it allows me to still slide and put myself in a better position, okay? That's 1. 2, when I'm able to sit out into this, we want to make sure that no matter what, I don't end up having my head drift back into the middle. Now again, we would say that the middle is between the shoulders and the hips, falling along a universal vertical line. So again, I'm kind of on this diagonal, which allows me to have a little bit better control. So that way if John goes to move, I'm really concentrating on this near shoulder, but I'm also back on that far hip. That really limits his options, okay? If my head drifts back towards the middle, you'll notice that I get reversed very easily, or even if my head drifts back a little bit, this is going to end up being pretty bad for me, okay? So I want to be aware, no matter where I have my foot position, even in transition or scrambling, I need to control this at all costs. I want to make sure that my body weight is still kind of following on a diagonal, whether I'm leaning forward on this diagonal this way, or I'm leaning back on here to secure some other types of control. The reason being, again, because even if I'm on that, leaning back towards that far hip, if he wants to try to move, I'm able to use my big toe, my far leg, almost to like a 90-90 position to really limit his options. He'll also tell you that there's a lot of pressure going on to his chest. How's this feeling right now? Right? Because I'm now not only pulling this arm, I'm driving my weight down and in, which is forcing him to react, okay? So when you get to this position, I'm really trying to emphasize, right off the bat, I need to control this shoulder at all costs, right? So I'm gonna pick it up. If you want to use the sleeve, you can go ahead and use that. Usually cupping, which is nice about this between gi and no gi, makes it a little bit easier to secure that control, because then I can decide how much I need to go ahead and decide how much I need to cup off here or how much I need to cup off the arm. Realistically, I'm going to have one that's probably a little bit tighter than the other, but that way I can also determine how much I need to do based off of how spry and how fast his reaction is. And not only that, but then again, I can follow the diagonals where I can either go ahead and still go on that diagonal this way, my diagonal towards that far hip, or some kind of even rotational kind of control with this. The idea though is that my head cannot get back, sitting back into this middle range. This becomes very bad for me in there, okay? It would be nice to have him submit, but again, that's the last part of our little control in this. I need to maintain control of this near shoulder. I want to make sure that my head doesn't drift back into the middle, my body weight off of that, because that makes it easier. And it would be nice to eventually have him submit, which we'll go ahead and cover next.